Text KHEA to 474747. It's really easy. Just open up your text box, type in KHEA as the message, and the number you're sending it to is 474747, and you'll have the opportunity to win some deliciousness in a giveaway collaboration between Main Squeeze Juice Company in Webster and Living Well Clinical Nutrition Center. I got Dr. Chapa and Dr. Amber in studio. I'm kicking this out on the FM. Here we go. Good morning. This is KHEA Radio. Right now, it is just after 9 o'clock, and I'm excited about a giveaway that's going on. Dr. Amber, I feel by now you know what people need to do for a chance to win this Main Squeeze and some other gifts, right?
Yes.
What do they do?
They're going to test me. Okay, they're going to text KHEA to
474747.
So text KHEA, the letters, to 474747 for an opportunity to win. I'm so excited. I love giveaways. Dr. Chapa, Dr. Amber, good morning to you guys. Thank you for being here.
Good morning. It's good to be here. It's great to be here. So let's talk about that giveaway real quick. This is a real big deal because for the last 9 weeks, I've been doing a juice feast every Monday to just give my digestive system a digestive break. We know good tissue cleansing in the body happens through proper bowel management. And so management of the bowel is meaning something that you, me, we all must do unto ourselves. You can't just rely on the body to handle it on its own. And when we've distanced ourselves from the reality that digestion is a violent sport, wouldn't you think?
For sure.
I mean, you take white rice, and then 3 hours later, you can turn it into brown rice. I mean, how amazing is that?
Oh, Dr. Chapa.
I'm sorry, folks. That's just the way it goes. But I told them they gave me too many supplements this morning. I'm a loose cannon. But the reality is I've been doing a Main Squeeze juice program, and I call it juice feasting because it's not complete fasting because I do put some nourishment into the body through the vegetables. Some of these juices that he makes over there are 6 to 8 pounds of vegetables to make a juice, and it is pretty amazing. If you've ever walked in there when he's making the juices that require jalapenos, I mean, your eyes burn, your nose burns from the jalapenos in the air.
I feel like you like that. You'd probably enjoy it. Like, yes,
I love it. Well,
I'm alive.
I love his the Blue Magic drink that he has over there because it's got cayenne pepper and it hits you like right behind the lymph node, on underneath your top of your throat, and it's one of my favorite feelings. I can just sip on it because I like that crescendo of power heat on the backside. But really what's happening is you're still getting the nourishment to get through the day because I need my brain. It's not like I have, the ability to go out into the wilderness and disconnect from talking with people. I have to be on point for folks. And so I still want the ability to have, good, strong mental clarity and to not have any dips throughout the day. And feasting using the juice still gives you the digestive break that fasting offers. It gives you the hydration that fasting offers, and it gives you the tissue cleansing that fasting offers. And I think that rest is a vital piece of what we're not doing enough of. We eat so much in consumption food, or we go to these restaurants that serve, a serving is like enough. One plate can feed a whole family of 6.
That's my favorite restaurant. Keep going.
I know. And but the problem is it's not even just what you're eating in that consumption. It's the volume and then the preservatives and then the artificial junk they put in it that all slows down our body. And I think that, doing a juice feast is a good idea to start incorporating into your day-to-day life. And so Jeff and I have been good friends since he opened here in Webster. He's got, I think, 3 locations in Houston now, and they're growing really well in a mobile juice truck, which I think is pretty rad.
I've seen him at Butler's Courtyard for some different events, and first time I ever had the opportunity to meet him was at a detox meeting that y'all had at the office, and that was the first time I think that I met Dr. Amber. She was introduced to the group, and it was a great time.
Wow. How long ago was that? Is that 3 years ago?
Yeah, just about.
It was before she went on KHEA, so it's sometime in between the penalty box that she served, and now she's welcome back.
Woo! Thank goodness. I'm so glad you got out of that box, man. Seriously.
Yeah.
So yeah, Dr. Amber and I were talking on the way over here about just the power of rest and and she had some neat things to say. So I think we're going to just kind of start there. Health isn't just about nutrition, right? I mean, it's so much more than that. I mean, I think that there's so many different pieces of the health program that we have to incorporate lifestyle-wise.
I think you could overdo one section of it, right? So if you're so heavily focused on nutrition or so heavily focused on, well, I don't really know if you could overdo the spiritual component of it. But anyways, I mean, we teach that in the office anyways, the healthy triad, and just trying to keep it all balanced. But I think in general, people really neglect the emotional component or spiritual component. And even because you know how we were saying, even in the Christian community, we forget to rest, and Jesus modeled rest. But we're just so busy, so busy. And so then that kind of turns into like, can you even make the right choices if you're so drained from being busy? Like, can you be motivated to objectively choose the right foods or the right, I don't know. I think it just creates a perfect storm where you're just done. You're burnt out. And but yet somehow we still have the drive to stay on this hamster wheel, to just keep burning ourselves out. Go until probably you're so far down.
To get us so distracted with the cares of the world, which is why the Bible says, we shouldn't, look after the cares of the world. We shouldn't look at the cares of tomorrow. We should think about the fact that today has enough cares and worries of its own. Mm-hmm. Take the day in stride. Enjoy your loved ones. Enjoy the mission field that God's put before you. Bloom where you're planted. And, talking on that idea of rest, in Mark 6:31, and Jesus said to them, "Come aside by yourselves to a deserted place and rest a while. For there were many coming and going, and they did not even have time to eat." So they even were busy. But Jesus was astute enough to be fully God and fully man, to see that man is a broken vessel and needs rest.
Yeah.
And people, have argued with me that, well, Jesus was always, disturbed in his rest and slumber. Right. But there's moments like this where he was able to get away. He says in Mark 6:45 and 46, and immediately he made his disciples get into the boat and go before him to the other Bethsaida, while he sent the multitude away. So he said, y'all go. He knew they needed a break. So he separated the boys from the crowd. He said, I'll take care of the crowd. He pushes the crowd away. And then he had sent them away. He departed to the mountain to pray, to be filled back up again. And I just go,
The woodpecker.
The woodpecker.
I'm intrigued. What's the story with the woodpecker?
I know, it does sound like it. Okay,
right?
So
we could wait till later to tell the story, but I think we should tell it now.
There's a woodpecker story.
Yes.
I want to hear it now.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
I love woodpeckers.
So I just feel like maybe for the last 6 weeks or so, we've had a really busy season, probably since Christmas. And I just, all good things, all things that I believe my family, and at least I for sure can speak for myself, feel that the Lord has asked us to do. So, you can't really say your plate's too full if you think God's giving you all these, not necessarily even tasks, but purpose. So through this season, I feel like I've learned to pray and ask God to just control the clock. Like, I know you want me to do all this, but let me lay this clock in your hands. You give me all the time that I need. And this was pretty recent, and this is the woodpecker story that Dr. Chapa is referencing. So I was driving down Highway 3 on my way to the office, but I'd had a busy morning, kind of one of those, like, maybe kids at a play date, pick up the groceries, drop them off at home, and just bang, 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 and then get to the office, because sometimes productivity is key. Everything was going off without a hitch, but I think I felt some sense of, like, when you kind of, like, get excited and everything's going well, it wasn't a bad thing that I was busy, but I still felt this, like, I wanted to relax, but I don't know if I'm explaining that well, but just kind of being too busy. And so I'm driving down Highway 3, and all of a sudden it's kind of wooded over there. I was going towards the office from League City Parkway, and this woodpecker catches my eye on, I think, what appeared to be a deserted telephone pole. And it felt like eternity. It really did. Like, I have no way to describe this to you. Clearly, I was still driving inattentive, and so it was probably even less than 5 minutes, but this woodpecker catches my eye, and in that moment, I'm like, oh my gosh, like, thank you, God, for something so cool. I mean, this bird was magnificent, and it has its own personality. It has its own purpose. Not all birds can peck wood. His beautiful red head, black with white spots. And I just feel like that bird just allowed me so much time and to just like worship our Creator. I mean, he didn't need to put that bird on this earth. He didn't need to do all the things that he did, but there's so much wonder in this world that gets lost in busyness, and it just really captivated me. And I definitely went to work, and I've hung on to that for a couple weeks now. And I know I've shared it with some patients, and I just felt this overwhelming sense of gratitude, and it was really restful for me in 5 minutes. So you can say you need a weekend trip to get away, but that's almost a trap to believe that you have to get away. Like, I don't know. I don't know why he diverted my attention, but that 5 minutes just restored me. And
well,
it was so
it's God's
cool.
economy of time, right? Like
So
the
cool.
Bible says that a day with the Lord is 1,000 elsewhere, something like that, right? So, like there is a when we take those opportunities, the famous words of Ferris Bueller, you know, if you don't stop and look around once in a while, you could miss it. And you were driving and were able to see something beautiful, and then you were able to recognize where the beauty came from, and it gave you and the Lord an opportunity to just bond a little bit more.
And I promise you, like, it's made me a better person just from that moment, from then till now, even, because I'm still sharing that story with deep emotion. And just like that day was completely redirected. So because I think the parallel would be this. I had a busy morning and I needed to get those things done. Like, my family needed the groceries, right? But I could have went into the office and served patients with this harried state of mind, like busy, busy, busy. Now I have 26 patients to see. Let me get that done and let me get home to. But I didn't. Like, I just felt so renewed, and I'm sure I know that I served them better. I know that I served my family better that evening, and I did it all with some sustained energy. And the coolest part about this is, it's like, none of this was me. Like, none of this was me striving or working harder, which I think is what society likes us to hear right now. You know, if you just work hard, you'll get all of these. Or if you just use block scheduling and you're so productive and you're going to feel on this mountaintop. Like, I didn't do any of that. It was literally a woodpecker that redirected my day and allowed me to succeed. So it felt like I was leaning on him, not I.
Yeah.
And it was awesome.
Well, I think a lot of people now are really big on self-care and, you know, taking that time, even if it's like, I think of my wife, like, I'm going to go get a pedicure or something like that, you know, just an afternoon, an hour and a half. But that can be refreshing. It doesn't always have to be, hey, I'm taking a week off vacation.
Exactly.
You know, for me, like, whenever that happens and those opportunities come, I almost feel more drained from, like, trying to keep up with life and, like, I need to do this, this, and this. And then you need a vacation from the vacation instead of actually having time to relax and come back recharged and refreshed. It's more, oh, man, now I really need to rest because I was just like, go, 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 nonstop.
Yeah.
I think a lot of times we've also bought into that vacation is a time to catch up on all the missed time we've had. And so we oftentimes fill it with crazy amounts of activities.
Do it all.
Yeah,
do it all in a week instead of, do it all in the marathon of time. And yes, we all have limited time and limited days, and it's a blip on the radar in the grand scheme. But at the end of the day, like, we just spent 4 days in the hill country, and my son goes, it felt like we were there for 8 days, but we were only there for 4 days. And 2 of the days were driving days, And he says to me, when he said that, I go, that's because we weren't filling it with video games, and we weren't filling it with, to-do list and running to this place and running to that place and needing to do this and getting to get this done. And he goes, but even though the sun still comes up and the sun still goes down, it seems like it just moves so much slower. And so it made me think about it on as I've been reflecting on that conversation with him, is if life is moving fast for you right now, it's probably because you're busy. And it could be like a speedometer or a gauge for you to do some introspection, to evaluate, do I need to slow down? Do I need to find rest? Do I need to reevaluate my margins? I mean, I've inventoried my day for a week. I took inventory of everything I did over the course of a day, sleeping included, and found that, I don't really feel like I waste a lot of time, but I jam so many things into my day. I have very little room for margin and for anything else. So therefore, we can go hard right up until we can't, and we just bottom. And that's what happens. The case of the suddenlies is real. It seems sudden, but really it happened over time. I mean, you don't just get cancer. You don't just get heart disease. You don't just have brain dysfunction. These are things that happened 20, 30, 40 years ago, and you're 1 degree of change off course for 20, 30 years. And so we have to be reminded that today's the day to plant your tree of health and wellness and vitality, that it's your life, it's your health, your choice. And when people are drawing on your energy and you feel depleted, that's when you need to separate yourself from the multitudes, go get face-to-face with the Lord, and reevaluate where you're at and what you're doing so that you can be charged back up and go back out there and do what you're called to do. Because we all are called. But I, again, think that if we can be distracted by the things of this world, that's exactly what the devil wants us to fall trapped to, so that we aren't doing God's work. We're doing our
anything else.
Anything
Yeah.
else.
Anything
Anything
else.
else, whatever it is.
Yeah. So I'm going to take this time to remind everybody, if you're listening on 99.5 FM, thank you so much. It's 9:28. What I need you to do right now is take your cell phone and text KHEA to the number 474747. Go ahead and do that now. You're going to have the opportunity to win some goodies in collaboration with Main Squeeze Juice Company in Webster and Living Well Clinical Nutrition Center. So text KHEA to 474747.
And that's weird. Like, why can't it just be like, like how they have like slogans when you like 1-800-MY-SO-AND-SO,
Yes.
I wish it would be something simple like that.
Texting?
Text, but it's 3 4 7s.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I'm like, it's a lot of thinking.
Yeah.
I know it's easy, but when you say it like that, it's kind of like convoluted and
yeah. And then when you
tongue-twister.
text it, like the way that it breaks the number down always looks funny to me too. It's like 4747.
So if I if I text KHEA
I
to
already
474747, can I enter to win?
I'm going to say yes.
I mean, I know that it's. I don't know, Jeff. How do you feel about that?
There was minimal rules.
That's
there
right.
was minimal rules. So, Dr. Chapa, Dr. Amber, y'all need to text to win. This is delicious stuff.
This is great stuff for sure.
Top of the line.
That is very true.
Mm-hmm.
So I think you could address also how we might be accidentally trying to rest by actually escaping and pacifying somewhere else, because self-care is very important, but what about this like treat yourself mentality, right?
Right.
Tell us more.
So
I'm intrigued. I'm going to take notes
I'm gonna
on this. I want to treat.
the title. Treat yourself.
I'm writing this down. This is real. Treat
So-
yourself.
So what if you're trying, like, what if you can't verbalize that you need rest, or you hear this, every person hears this from someone in their life, or you might be telling yourself that, like, I know that I need rest. I just don't have time. Like, I know that I shouldn't be this busy. I just, you start to feel the multitude of your burdens. So what if you decide to get that dopamine hit and that rush and the rest, I guess, you're treating yourself by choosing things that are destructive to you. So drowning yourself in your cell phone because, you don't have time for rest, but you surely could spend so much time scrolling on whichever social media platform. Maybe it's food. Maybe it's food. Yeah, exactly.
Shows.
Exactly.
I know people that literally, they have blackouts all over their house.
Mm-hmm.
Their house is dark, and they have their little spot on their couch, and they cover up, and they just binge watch stuff. I mean, that's an escape.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, except that when it becomes a pattern of where you can't get your health in order, you're on 3 different psychiatric meds, you're unable to fall asleep at night, you're constipated, you're finding yourself more hermiting away from your friends, family, and loved ones. I think there's where what you're describing as the self-destruction starts.
Yeah, I think it's just kind of a slippery slope into pacifying yourself. So So I guess I'm going to pose this question. So is pacifying? Do you choose? Is pacification a word?
Yeah.
I'm going to say yes.
Okay, so do you choose pacification when actually what you need is rest? Like if you were more mindful and restful, would you not need to pacify?
Oh, so I got one for you. Okay, so last, I think it was Tuesday. I went to a float spa, and I did a float.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because one of the, I think it was Miss Carla gave me a introduction to infinity floating or something in Clear Lake, and at one of our detox meetings, because I'd never, I'd floated once before in Florida, but anyway, I went here in Houston, and it was quite amazing because I did the float, and it was amazing. It really was. I think I went into that little twilight space where you're like not asleep, but you're not awake, and you're kind of euphoric a little bit, and you're slightly dreaming, but not sort of dreaming. But it took a good 15 minutes for all the thoughts to stop pounding me. I mean, I'm floating in this 1,200 pounds of salt water, and pitch black, silence. Can't hear anything except maybe a trickle of water if I move funny, right? But when I come out of that little euphoric state, I'm like, okay, I'm awake. Like I'm ready to get out. But the lights, I kept playing with the lights, and I'm fidgeting, and I'm no longer like chilling.
Yeah.
Right. I'm literally like pushing myself from one end of the tank to the other. I'm literally they're probably like, what's going on in there? This guy's supposed to be asleep. And then when I left, when I got out, I still had 10 minutes left on my clock, and they go, "You got out early." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm done." I'm not going to sit there and torture. And now it's becoming a stress to sit there, right, or to lay there. And I realized that there is an art and a practice to resting, but so often we look for pacification tools. TV to numbify our thinking, or drugs or alcohol to numbify our thinking, or gambling, or whatever we pass the time with, pacifying the time with, and we're looking for those escapes because we're unwilling, or we haven't been taught that it's really okay to pamper yourself a little bit. And I'm not saying that you have to go to a float spa. Whatever it is that. It could be Frisbee golf that you get out there. I like mowing grass. I used to mow a lot of yards when I was in school and in high school and college, and there's something very, to me, stupidly gratifying about edging my yard or weed eating my grass and watching those blades just get, And I don't even need a headset. I like headsets, but I don't even need a headset. I can just the hum of the motor, all of it really pacifies or numbifies, and maybe even could be a rest because it's a mindless activity.
You're just kind of saying it doesn't have to be difficult, right?
Yeah, we make things really harder than it ought to be. But I don't think people are teaching how to do it, or teaching that there is a skill to it. Like I was thinking, what if I should do that floating more often and see if I can get good at shutting my mind off for a full hour.
Right.
Instead of it taking 15, 20 minutes for my racing thoughts to stop, maybe I can get it to 2 minutes.
That's kind of like, has your school campus at the end of, they'll do like the orchestra cycle and classical conversations, and all these kids in our room at the beginning of this are just like dying because they ask them to sit for 2 minutes and like in complete silence with your family, don't bug your mom, don't talk to her, but you're sitting for 2 minutes just listening to classical music, and you're kind of teaching these kids like that was entertainment at one point in time. Like legitimately you'd sit there with your eyes closed, like maybe we would read a book, or because books were in so much excess now, but not then. But it's pretty cool because by the end of it, these kids listen to 8 full minutes, and at the beginning they hate it, they're done. Like they're participating because they know they have to for school. But maybe I'm only speaking for my own. There's definitely, it's rambunctious, but I think there's a piece to that. Like you can train yourself, and you just have to be mindful that you should be training yourself, because the world tells you if you rest, you're lazy.
So
you wear your busyness like a badge of honor. Like I'm so busy. So, I just
look at my crazy.
Yeah,
You really want to be a part of
exactly.
my crazy. No, you don't.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
but at the end of the day, what if we could show people, and I think that if we could figure out how to turn skill set rest into one of our daily practices. You know, I mean, I still like the idea of siestas, 1 to 3. You know what I mean? And then going back to it. I mean, I enjoy the work of serving my community and my people, but it still is exhausting. So what if you created it where, I mean, even the lawn guys, they take a good hour, and you'll see them propped up on the shade underneath the eave of a house in the summertime, asleep.
Yes.
They don't have their cell phones out. You know, I'm seeing it a little bit more nowadays where they have their cell phone up in the air. But I'm also, that's a trained skill.
Mm-hmm.
We're being trained to, something's wrong with you if you don't have your cell phone, your electronic leash close at hand.
Yeah.
You know, and that's why I love when I go on vacations and stuff like that. And I don't have my cell phone Wi-Fi or my signal doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
Because then you just kind of get to the point
It
where
forces you.
forget about it.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And then you forget. Then you literally forget about it. It's just like the time in the rest tank. You know, it took 15 minutes for those racing thoughts to stop. The next day when you're on the vacay, you don't even pick up the phone. You don't even take it off the charger. You know, you're just kind of like, whatever. It's one less cumbersome thing I got to tote. And I just think that is a cool thing. So anyway, rest. I think there's lifestyle modifications that we have to make in addition to our diets, in addition to our sleep hygiene, and no one really talks about de-stressing and creating more margin in our life. I mean, we kind of surface it a little bit, but we don't really go into the details. Mm-hmm. And I mean, there is so many ideas. I mean, if anybody's got any ideas of things that you like to do that doesn't pacify the time, but you feel recharged after you spend the time. Mm-hmm. You know, because either way, you're spending time doing something, right? Mm-hmm. That's the thing that you lose. Mm-hmm. So if you're staying up till 12, 1 o'clock in the morning, passing the time, you know, in the web or wave of scrolling, or you are watching binge TV, or, you know, I heard of a guy that he wakes up in the morning from like 1 to 3 in the morning to watch some sport thing he's into.
It's live at that time?
It's live at that time. And I'm thinking to myself,
it's dedication.
Yeah,
that's
for
what that
sure.
is. Yeah.
Is it, dude, or is that an addiction? Dedication or an addiction? or misguided, you know, priorities. I don't know. You know, and I get it. I mean, we all have our fetishes and our thing that we're into, and I don't want to be one to, you know, judge, but I mean, you cannot outrun a bad diet, mm-hmm. and you sure as heck can't outrun bad sleep hygiene.
Right.
Like, I mean, they have done one thing we don't know anything about sleep. When they start doing all the studies, nobody can tell you if you need 6 or 8 or 9 hours of sleep. We know, you know, very little about why the sleep cycle turns on and why it turns off. We know things that happen, the detox pathways activate while we're sleeping, but nobody really understands the true mechanisms of sleep. But what we do know, without it, you are sick. Like, your body will rapidly decline. Mm-hmm. You will have anxiety. You will gain weight. You will have cravings. You will have endocrine disruption, hormonal imbalances. You will have brain fog. You will not be able to get through your day. You will not be creative in your thinking power. I mean, I could go on and on and on. What a bad night of sleep. I mean, I always work really hard to help parents with little kids that mom sleeps fine, except when baby wakes them up.
Yeah.
Except when baby wakes them up, which is every night, several times a night. So mom's getting this splotchy, dysregulated sleep. And so I'm like, okay, let me, but they don't ever say it that way, right? What do they say to us? Oh, I don't sleep good. Mm-hmm. So if we aren't astute enough, and this is why we teach this at our office, to all of our clinicians, we ask better questions. And we dig deeper into the care. We want to know, well, what's going on with your sleep? Are you waking up at night to pee? Are you having bad dreams? Are you having night sweats? Are you tossing and turning, beating up your pillow? I mean, what's going on? No, little Johnny's coming and kicking me in the ribs when he climbs in bed. Little Sally is, you know, wanting to breastfeed all night long. Mm-hmm. Or, you know, so-and-so had a nightmare, has nightmares every night. So-and-so. It's something else somewhere else.
Then it's the worst also. Like, some of that you're talking like little babies, a little bit of is inevitable, but why do we believe that, like, we're just not I don't know, that we're not supposed to sleep. It's just, and then now we're on the topic of rest, so you don't sleep all night and then your day's harried because you don't rest during the day, and then you might not have any tools in your cabinet to just help you get through that day, like something adaptogenic, and you're halfway to adrenal fatigue. And I think that I feel like I meet two people. Some people who can see that it's a true passion, especially in our office, because I guess I just want to convey that it really is. Like, it's not a matter of it's always a nutritional glitch. It's a matter of, like, we actually just want you to know that you can really thrive with some of these things. Like, even if you didn't want a huge protocol, take 5. Just take something. That's better than nothing, And because I can just almost guarantee you that your day's going to feel good. And I genuinely have a heart for people, and I know you do as well. I just want you to have that day. I want you to, like, not be short-fused with your kids because you slept better that night. And I'm preaching to myself sometimes too,
totally,
for
yeah.
sure. Like, this isn't coming from, a place of expertise per se. Like, I don't have it all figured out, but I'm so thankful that there's people in close circles and, that we can all link arms together and someone can gently say to you, like, well, did you sleep well last night? Oh, well, no.
Or my favorite, did you poop well last night, yesterday, this morning?
Yeah.
I mean, you got to be willing to evaluate yourself. And I think there's something really key that we're dancing around word-wise that I think we should throw out there. We have to be intentional with our health. We have to recognize that it truly is your life, your health, your choice. And that level of intentionality of what do you want your life to look like after you've done built it helps you start making daily decisions today to influence next year, 5 years, 10 years, 25 years down the road. I mean, just to assume that you're going to live to 95 doesn't mean you're going to. I mean, you got to work at it. I mean, there are things that are constantly degenerating you faster if you let them than you can regenerate. And if we allow the stresses and pains of life, I mean, sometimes you got to prune relationships.
Yeah.
Hard thing to do, right? I mean, I'm guilty of it the most because I want to please everybody. Like I'm the yes man.
Sometimes those prunings naturally happen, just like through time.
Yeah, seasons of life. I call them.
I've been there's been very rarely where I had to do it on purpose, but there's like maybe 2 times in my life and it's not easy. It's not easy to do, but it was necessary for all for different reasons. But that's always hard, just to prune back people and different things at times. But
I think but then that ultimately creates a margin, whatever it is. So sometimes it is relationships, but then once you have that margin, you might have a greater capacity to. Same with, resting, if that's creating your margin, whatever you can do, even one step at a time, to give yourself the availability to check those food labels or maybe make a home-cooked meal instead of driving through fast food or something, so just those little things, they just kind of all add up. And I think because we live in this immediately satisfying culture that you think that if you skip your fast food restaurant today and you don't see results tomorrow, you're annoyed, so you'll just go right back to doing something like that,
Yeah. I was talking to a gym owner earlier this week, and that was one of the things that we was talking about. And Dr. Chapa preaches it all the time. We live in a microwave society, and I'm the same way. I want in now. I went to the gym today. Maybe I feel sore, so I know I did something, but I ate healthy today. I didn't eat fast food today. I didn't. I weigh the same. I look the same.
Exactly.
Yeah,
so
I want to know.
You want to just tell yourself, like, well, that was pointless. Like,
yeah.
Because you remember how it felt to eat what you wanted or do what, you remembered making yourself feel good, but you didn't. It's just not the same result. And
well, it's interesting. Like, so kids, we have that idea that when I was 18, I could eat this. When I was 15, I could eat this, and I didn't gain a pound, or I didn't have headaches, or I didn't have the issues, there's things that we have to really appreciate. If you have, if you will, points associated to the amount of carbs you can eat in a lifetime. Every woman has X number of cycles that she's deemed to have in a lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
And so women that go into, quote unquote, their menopausal years, 48 to 52, maybe 55, whatever, if they have really bad menopause, it's because they left cycles on the table. And their body is not fully done with fertility, and it's not ready for sterility. You know what I mean? It's a very
it's like in-between spot.
It's this in-between spot, but there is this internal physiological tug-of-war, right? The same with acid reflux, indigestion. I mean, I don't know very many 45, 55, definitely 65-year-olds that aren't on Tums, that aren't on some sort of over-the-counter antacid or prescription-based antacid, or even we're hearing more and more about babies being put on antacids for the sake of acid reflux or indigestion or colic or whatever. I mean, when you start seeing the prescription of this stomach wearing out in your 40s, 50s, and 60s, I mean, you have to start realizing that there is a degenerative process happening. That what if we raised a people in such a way where they evaluate with intention, will this serve me tomorrow? Will this serve me this week? And so you can live by the 80-20 rule. 80% of the time you stay on track, and 20% of the time you cheat a little bit. I like the 36 good quality meals throughout the week, and then the 37th meal have a cheat. So that's about one cheat meal a week after you've had 36. So if it takes you 2 weeks to eat 36 meals because that's how you're set up, well, then you're cheating every 2 weeks. I like the idea of fasting every Monday. I like the idea of starting, when I started all this, the 15th of the month. One day a month, I would say, I'm going to fast. And now I'm fasting 1 day a week. And every month I do a 5-day intestinal bentonite clay active butter charcoal cleansing program where I'm drawing trash out of the body, giving the body a break, recognizing that it is degenerating the older I get. And I'm trying to slow down the degeneration so that my body will last the long haul and it doesn't wear out at 95 with Alzheimer's.
Well, and you're going into those seasons in your life with greater vitality. But what I think is like the difficult part is, you don't always notice the newer vitality tomorrow. You need the endurance to continue to make these choices so that when you're 95, I mean, and that can be applied to so many things. Sometimes God just makes us wait to see the fruits of what you're doing, right? So you might not know that all these choices are so beneficial to you until you're 80 plus, but we definitely know there's no reason not to do them.
It's an investment, it seems.
Yeah.
And you don't know what the investment is going to yield.
It's the intangible.
Right.
And it's the hardest thing about alternative medicine. It's the hardest thing about healthcare, I think, is that we have sold the people on instant fixes and instant gratifications. We've sold people that it has to be backed by, this organization, that organization as a peer-reviewed, status quo, standard of care, gold standard, whatever the stamp of approval that is needed. But we have to realize that when it comes to getting back to the basics of health and nutrition, there's a book Mary Frost wrote called that very thing, that food is medicine. And food has become very complicated. Time is complicated. Relationships are complicated. And so at this point, if we don't recognize that it's up to us to change, I can't change you, Gardy. You can't change me. A man convinced against his will is of the same opinion still. I hate it. It's so true. But at the end of the day, the truth is that I can change myself. I can invest in work on me. Jim Rohn, the motivational speaker from the 80s, he always would say, when you work hard on your job, you'll make a living. But when you work hard on yourself, you can make a fortune. And he wasn't talking about money. I'm sure he was a little bit. But he was talking about the fortune of being spiritually rich, the fortune of being able to pass down knowledge to your children, the fortune of giving, to your local community, your local social circle, the lifeblood they need through healthy conversation.
He also said something like, you could probably say it with the great inflection, but
You
Let
can
me
give it a
see you
try.
try.
I want to see you try. That could be good.
I'm excited for this.
I think I take.
She's out
I'll
of the
take
penalty
care
box.
of
She's
my.
coming
Yeah,
back
I know,
every
right?
week.
Exactly. I'll take care of myself. So and.
So
you know
basically,
you
yeah.
can and then you, for you, I'll take care of myself for you. You take care of yourself for me.
That's right. Not the other way around. So we have so many caregivers that pour themselves in to caring for a loved one, which is necessary, right? I got it. But what happens is they pour so much of their self into that caregiving, their identity now becomes in a caregiver, and then when the caring goes away, they've lost themselves. They don't know how to get it back. That could be an issue. Or they actually die before the person they're caring for dies. And now what?
Yeah. So now they're not ultimately
able
because I
to
think
serve.
that you got to hack your brain to say, I need to take care of myself so that I can continue to serve this person. And I think that moms fall into that pitfall a lot. They just pour and pour and pour and pour. Parents, but pour and pour into their kids. And eventually, your cup's going to runneth dry. And then you're not actually going to serve that family well anyways. So, yeah, I don't know. It just can get deep. I just think that I know that I'm thankful for others who have gone before me or who are currently in my life now who just remind me that you need to kind of refuel your cup a little bit, because ultimately you're going to end up, in a degenerative state. But currently here in the now, you're going to end up so fatigued and so tired or so drained that you're not loving your husband well, your kids well, your job's falling, and it just,
I think that what leads to regret. I think, and they've done so many studies around that people on their deathbed, they never say they wish they could work another day. They always say things like, man, I wish I would have gone on that vacation. I wish I would have spent a little bit more time with so-and-so, such and such. I wish I would have forgiven so-and-so and such and such, I mean, there's so many things. And then at the end of the day, we have to realize that, it was our choice.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and we were living in the moment, and we either you're a product of the books you read, the CDs you listen to, the people you hang around. I would even say a little bit you're a product of the food you eat, the attitude you carry. I mean, all those things begin to shape your vision and perception of the world around you. And man, if you could just grab hold of the idea that listening, I read a book called this week called Sugar Crush. It was an 8-hour book on Audible, and I haven't really. I was like, I don't need to read a book about sugar. I mean, I already know sugar is terrible for you. You know what I mean? Why do I need to read another dumb book about sugar? I mean, what's it going to say? So I just put it on 2.9 speed. And just let it rip.
Yeah.
And I got through it in I don't know.
Is that the highest speed?
No, there's actually it's higher. And I was but I was as fast as I could go. 3 was too much. I was having a hard time processing.
I feel like you probably practiced that or see how you can push yourself.
Well, I have.
Oh, yeah.
And because I really want to. I love knowledge. I love educating myself. I love the idea of books. And there's just not enough time in a day for me to do it. I mean, and even the busier I'm getting with my practice and everything, it's even harder, and so, but it was nice because I said, you know what, I'm going to get a nugget or two, and, we all know sugar's bad for you. I can show you, I got a printed document, Nancy Appleton's Lick the Sugar Habit, 156 different ways that sugar can influence and ruin your health. But dude, this guy comes at it from a completely different angle. And from an arterial perspective, bunions, Morton's neuromas, all these feet neuropathies, any type of, nerve, dysfunction in the lower extremities, hands and feet, and how he correlates it all back to sugar. And it was just a neat little kind of a angle that he took. And I just said to myself, sugar really does suck, And I've got little kids that come in that they're eating all the organic stuff. I got kids that are coming in that are gluten-free. They're dairy-free, but they're eating 8 to 10 those little go-go squeeze applesauces a day. Sorry, you can't do that. I last 2 weeks ago, I put on the show all that, sugared candy that that lady was eating throughout the day thinking that was healthy, right? I mean, we have a very misconstrued idea of what we should be nourishing our bodies with, and it's very important that we grab hold of the reality that we need to read another book, I guess, about sugar.
Dr. Chapa, what was the name of that book? Someone asked.
Sugar Crush.
Sugar Crush is the name of the book.
Yeah.
We gotta. I feel like that. Even knowing all that, I know, and I've spent years. Like, I'll just tell you a little story that happened yesterday. So, or I guess it was Sunday. So we had an awesome church festival, and man, they love these kids. Our kidsman is really great, and we did our spring fiesta, and all the kids get piñatas because it's a fiesta.
Say it's a fiesta. It makes sense.
Exactly. And they went all out on the candy this year. Like, these kids were jacked. They were getting like full size, packages of Sour Patch Kids. And I feel like I've got to do this dance with my kids where I can't, like, I don't always want to say no. Like, I really don't. And so at our house, we don't buy things that have food dye. Like, it's literally in everything. I mean, you can't even buy pickles without it.
Really?
And yeah, always a surprising one. Like, I don't actually need my pickles neon green, So I know that I have a kid who's sensitive to it, and I don't know why I keep putting myself into. So I'm being vulnerable right now and trying to relate to people who find this difficult, because even I'm trained myself to believe that it's okay to let your kids have some of these candies, or it's okay to, like, I grew up with them, and so I'm thinking,
and you turned out relatively okay, right?
Well, I don't know. I did get put in the penalty box. So.
That wasn't the food dye, though. That was different reasons.
So
that we won't discuss here.
Not on the air.
But to your point, yes, like, I feel people will say that, right? Like, well, I had it and I turned out okay. But two things. Did I? Like, you don't know on a cellular level with what I'm dealing with or what health challenges I have if that was contributed by eating some of those things. But I will tell you here and now, like, at least 75% of the time, that is not in my children's normal diet. So we go to the spring fiesta. I feel like, you know what? Both my husband and I, we feel like, yeah, let's just let him have a yes day. Like, we'll just see. So
a yes day.
She drinks a Sprite. No food dye in the Sprite, at least. But still, sugar, high fructose corn syrup, like.
Yeah.
Wait, Sprite's okay?
Wait, there's another.
No, heck no.
One of the 4 deadly food additives right there, right?
Okay, so I'm telling you all this because you got to hear how badly she crashed, and then how my perspective changed. So then she eats all this candy. Great night. Like, I'm thinking, wow, she's doing pretty good. Like, her behavior hasn't derailed at all. She goes home, she falls asleep, she crashes. We get to about middle of the day yesterday, and, like, this child was out of her mind. Like, cannot control herself. Like, fits. And so I don't actually know. They might be listening with their babysitter. So we'll stop explaining how it is. But
they were listening earlier. Put them on blast.
Okay, so, but I had this paradigm shift because Sunday I'm thinking, I don't want her to feel left out, so I'm going to let her have these things. I'll regulate it. She didn't go home with a sack full of candy, but she had way too much, right? Like, it wasn't the entire bag that she thought she was taking home with her from the piñata, but it was still way too much. So I'm feeling like I don't want her to be the only kid here, or my family the only family here who can't do this stuff. Like, I want to have some leniency. But then yesterday I'm like, no, like, now it's worse that I allowed her to have it, because all the neurotoxicity in these food dyes, which is well documented, and we still continue to shove in everything from marshmallows to toothpaste, like, she's out of her mind, and then afterwards is so regretful because she actually feels like on some level that she blacks out, like she doesn't know what she's doing, and then she's filled with shame and regret because of it. And I know this isn't the case for everybody, but I think it was a really good experience for her and I to go through again and realize, like, no, this really actually can't be a part of our lives. Like, I love you so much that I'm not even going to mess with this anymore. So we're going to have to find,
what was the
safer treats, like backup treats.
How did she take the conversation when you started explaining?
Oh, fantastic. And she's super happy. Like, she went straight downstairs and threw out all of her candy. So there was a learning experience in it. But, y'all, this girl took 15 Mintran, 6 calcium lactate. Like, I'm trying to get the minerals back in that I know the sugar took away. And she was on total systemic detox all day long because she's got to clear out those food dyes because I want her to feel in control of herself. That's a really crappy place to be where you're not feeling good. And she's 7. Like, so I wonder 2 things. Does she have that response because it's not a part of her diet? And if that's the case, how much are all of our children and adults and people who continually consume something like food dye, are they where are they compensating that they don't act like this child? Because I don't know that it's an allergy for her.
It's just like Alzheimer's and dementia. You don't know where the heavy metals, you don't know where the toxins are going to reside. You can't say I want it to all go to my butt.
Right.
You can't say I want it to go to my vision. And now you have macular degeneration. You can't say that you want it to, land on this cortices or that cortices, and you have this type of, lack of filter or lack of memory or lack of learning or ADD, ADHD. You know what I mean? Like, you don't get to pick where the trash lands, but where the trash lands comes with a price, and that's what makes food so challenging. That's what makes food additives so challenging. That's what makes eating garbage day in and day out so disruptive, is that we just look at it like, well, because there's for every 100 people in the world, there's one that can eat anything they want to eat seemingly with no consequence. They don't gain weight, they're a great athlete, they're a great this, they're good looking, they're this, they're whatever, right? But then the 99 other people have to work at it. And a lot of the people I would say that are attracted to our work are the 99. I mean, even a lot of times the clinicians that are in this work are the 99. I don't come to health with ease. I mean, my dad died at 53 of a heart attack. My mom was on 6 medications and hormones in her 50s, and so it is like I hear people all the time. My kids are now developing my diseases. And I love how they say it, my diseases. They've adopted it as if it's their own. Like they find some sort of value in holding dear to their cherished diagnoses. And now they're passing it, unfortunately, down through a curse to their offspring. When, there's some genetic tendencies, no doubt about it. But there's also familiarity. People never do what they're told to do. What do?
Do what they're shown. Or
That's right. They do what they see being done and performed before them. And again, going back to, if you are not changing and growing and developing inside of you, if you aren't learning and studying and changing your perspective on things, seeing things from other people's point of view, and trying to be intentional with every aspect of your fibrous being, then you are failing to realize that your influence matters, and your influence matters greatly. And if the more people we can wake up to the idea of what you saw as a parent, because it really starts with the parents. People have asked me to go and teach, junior high kids and elementary kids nutrition classes, and I did for a while, a long time, until I realized something, that it's all in vain, because who buys the food? And when mom and dad are not being educated, the kid is, I hate to say, we live in a culture of it's called baby butt syndrome. Y'all know what this is? This is a famous, I don't know if this is maybe a Dr. Chapa term.
Yeah, I don't know this.
Or baby butt syndrome is where, I wipe that little baby's butt. Surely they can't teach me anything. We almost turn off the idea that we can learn from our offspring. Well, I'm pretty sure my parents taught me that they wanted me, my dad, as a matter of fact, he said, Aaron, I desire for you to be a generation jumper. I want you to be better than me. And I'm sure my mom would second that notion. They created opportunities to help shape, mold, and develop me in such a way that maybe I would be teachable, that I wouldn't give up on the idea of education. Education's a key on a key ring. The more education you get, the more doors you can open. And that means the more conversations I can navigate, the more confrontation I can deal with, the more rejection I can deal with, the more seasons of change I can deal with. Because these are all pains that we all go through, is it not? I mean, nobody likes to be rejected. Nobody likes change. And if it does change, we want it to be changed in our favor. You know, it's like the bank error. You received $200. You know, woohoo! Love Monopoly. You know, we want some sort of reward for the change. The fact that we have to sacrifice something in order to maintain change or to slow down the accelerated aging of change, whew, man, that's work, Dr. Chapa. I don't know if I want to do work like that. I'm not willing to do that. Okay. But just understand that you are changing. You know, it's inevitable.
Yeah, right.
Just which path do you want to go? Do you want to hold the reins, or do you want to let the horse just drag you down the ride? Wherever it goes, because you might not like where you end up.
Yeah.
And that's a bitter, hard truth to accept. But the truth is, it's your life, it's your health, it's your choice.
It's some of the things, too, that you can just do. I mean, so that conversation with my daughters after this was, number one, it was dramatic enough that probably all of the kids gleaned something from the situation, right? Because they're feeling sad for their sister, too. But I'm really proud of them. So last night we're laying in bed and tucking them in, and they just decided they're just going to make a baggie of vegetables every day. Like, they're going to set a goal from themselves. Like, of course, I was a part of the conversation. So they're like, all my kids love raw veggies overcooked. So they're going to package up a little baggie or preps them quite at a time. And they all love these little charts that you color in the little square when they finish something for the day. And so, I mean, they're just, you're
bringing intention to how they live out their lives.
And
people go, you
they're
shouldn't
motivated to do it. Like, and I think that's the cool part. So I believe that I created the issue with my old baggage. I really do, because I wanted to include her in the candy from what I remember from my childhood. Like,
you didn't want to deprive her. You don't want her to
But she might have been
rebel.
completely okay with me saying, no, like, let's trade this out for a safer treat. But I chose for her to say, go ahead and do it with my old emotions. So that's kind of, you know, I played a part in the mess, and
but maybe it will stick better with her since it was experience for her, and she was making the choice.
Personal
in the
experiences go a long way as well.
You know, something like that can flip, and I think we just, like, anybody can apply that to their life and realize when there's something, you know, going on like that. Okay, so now you recognize it. Now it's on you to make the change. So even if it's tiny, let's not be all or nothing people where you have to do all of it overnight.
Yes,
you nailed it. I mean. And I think that it just comes down to what are we doing in order to recognize that we are influencers. Mm-hmm. You know, there's this new term on social media called that person's an influencer. Well, guys, I want to help you realize that we're all influencers, and we're all influencing somebody somewhere, somehow. And be somebody on the side of the ledger that can be modeled in a way that is fruitful, that models the fruits of the Spirit: love, joy, peace, patience, goodness, kindness, gentleness, and self-control. And, man, like, have some fun with life. Don't take yourself so seriously, and recognize we all have faults, and we all fall short, and we can't put people on pedestals, and change is inevitable. But recognize that you can do something today to make your life better. You can drink more water. You can eat a good, healthy, hearty breakfast. You can go to bed earlier. You can take minerals to help you go to bed earlier. You can do some of the things we talked about earlier about practicing these states where we disconnect so that we can allow our body some sort of mental rest, physical rest, biochemical rest. And if you need help or guidance going through this process, Living Well Clinical Nutrition Center offers tons of resources through our detox programs, our monthly classes, our weekly radio show here with KHEA Radio, and that we ask that you like, share, and comment always every week. Make sure that you text KHEA Radio today at 474747. Hey, look, I got it. And or give us a call at the office, 281-554-8600, and make sure that you're on our docket. Make sure you're in our orbit, because your life, your health, your choices can be changed if you've got diagnoses, symptom patterns that you weren't genetically born with. You don't have to suffer anymore. You can start making 1 degree of change. And to Gardy's point earlier, it might not be a microwave yesterday fix, but it will correct a little over time. We just have to unturn the stones and give your body the tools and the resources to pull you through. So this is Living Well Clinical Nutrition Center, and we are just glad to be here every week, Gardy. Thanks for having us on, and we look forward to tuning in again next week.
I think the most important thing that somebody can do today to start that change is to take their cell phone and text KHEA to 474747.
That's it.
And then you can have the opportunity to win some main
Get
squeeze.
that juice cleanse.
Ooh, it's good stuff.
It's
Y'all be
great.
blessed. It's KHEA Radio 99.5 FM.
Oh,
Hey, we're
that
still
gets
on.
warm.
We're still on,
It's
just
'cause
on social media.
We're rocking and rolling in here, girl.
It's going good. And welcome back, Amber. You're
Out of the penalty box.
you're good. But yeah, if you're watching again, share this out. Thank you so much for taking the time to tune in. And then also text the number 474747. Text KHEA to that. Thanks, Nicholas. Make sure you text and enter. I did. So y'all be